designing which year?
Oh, Aaron and Kara.
Yeah. And
I need to get Aaron and Kara's because I don't have their autograph. I have like Pops. But I didn't get autograph. I got Barbara and I got Barbara and I got Barbara and Aaron. When they were in AFO one time.
oh yeah, I got them too.
Yeah, I went there.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Volume 1.
So I guess we'll get started now, even though we haven't got a lot of people here. Let me just kick-start this thing here. Welcome. But in case you guys don't already know, probably see me running around and stuff. My name is Jake James Lugo. I'm one of the industry guests this year for Lumi-Con, but I'm also someone that works in the games industry. I'm a pro. Basically, I've been doing this for about 7 years and change, going on 8. And I've done work for IGN, I've done work for the Coalition, Playboy, Pixelkin, now recently Influencer Update. I'm on YouTube, I'm on all social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc. So basically, I love talking about video games. I love interacting about video games. I love the discussion about games. I love writing about it, podcasting, all that different stuff about games. I do, and I try to do it for a living. I try to make it my passion into what my life career's work is. And it's something that, I'm super, super passionate about. I just love it. Welcome. Hey, how's it going? And I figured, you know what, doing a panel like this, talk a little bit about it, not only tell you guys my story, but also tell you about how you guys can get into the industry, for your love of games, whether it be games, anime, comics, whatever else. All the different types of stuff that I've had to learn getting involved with video games in the industry could be applied to just about anything. I figured it'd be helpful just kind of give you guys that knowledge, just put it out there so you guys can go out, make dope stuff, show everybody, and talk about amazing things like that. So for me, how it started was that obviously, like most of us here, everybody here plays video games, right? Everybody here is, you guys gotta be louder. I know it's no coffee. You can say yes, you can cheer, you can do whatever.
It's still morning.
It's still morning, more coffee. You gotta get candy right there for Halloween.
Yeah, caffeine.
But for me, it started off, obviously, I played video games when I was like 5 years old or so. First game was Sonic the Hedgehog on the original Sega Genesis, and from there, it was like shooting out like a rocket. And over years, my love and appreciation for games has kind of grown, it's changed. It's not only become an appreciation for time wasting and getting away from schoolwork, it turned into something like, an appreciation for the art form, appreciation for the medium, something I wanted to just talk about with other people that had similar taste and stuff, or similar appreciation for it. And it was something that at some point after when I was working like a really deadbeat job that I just didn't care about, I was like, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do something involving games. And that's how I got into games journalism. Everybody's heard the term gaming journalists, all that stuff, right? You guys that go to like IGN, you guys go to like Polygon and stuff, it's okay. You guys can say it. No judgments here if you go to Kotaku, I promise, or whatnot. But this is the type of stuff that, I wanted to be involved with. I wanted to go to places like E3. I wanted to go to places like Comic-Con, to PAX, to PSX, to Lumi-Con, to other conventions down here in Florida, to go cover it and just partake in that excitement, and then tell people about it, because I think it was just fun to me, like that. And to me, I wanted to turn that into something I could do for the rest of my life, which I'm still in my journey doing. It takes time. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of patience, a lot of dedication, and a lot of struggle. Lord only knows how many times I felt like I wasn't going anywhere with it. But it's something that if you're passionate enough, if you're dedicated enough, you can turn into something that's amazing, something that's awesome and stuff. So, any questions so far? Any crazy things? Here's the thing how I'm going to swing the deal. And I keep telling everybody as more people start to come in. For everybody that asks a question, I have a giant box worth of free stuff that's like amazing stuff that I'm just going to give away to you guys. So anybody that's like t-shirts, I even got this game console over here that I figured, you know what, it'd be kind of cool to give away.
Atari.
Who doesn't love Atari, right? Atari 2600, no? Yeah. It was like, yo, this is not a PlayStation. Why you gotta be so cheap? But still, like things like this, I figured like, you know what, since it's so early in the morning, I might as well give back to you guys on top of talking about something that's like kind of boring. Yeah. But, yeah, right. But as far as, I guess until anybody has a question. Okay, there you go. Yeah, finally.
Where's a good place to start? Like
YouTube.
YouTube? Like what, like making your own videos? Or?
Well, it could be anything. It could be podcasts, it could be YouTube, making videos, vlogs, playing a game and capturing it, via an Elgato or a capture device or something. Yeah, I would even argue for me, I started off writing. And I feel like as someone that, got into the medium, like reading magazines like Game Informer, like, PlayStation Magazine, OPM, OXM, stuff like that that's been around throughout the years, I feel like learning how to write not only allows you to convey your thoughts better, but you can translate into video, you can translate into podcasts, you can translate into casual conversation like that when you're talking about whatever it is that you want to talk about, whether it's gaming, anime, comics, etc. I feel like stuff like that, having at least a solid foundation in that will enable you to kind of like flex your creative muscles. So, question, do you want this?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, no, you want this like small thing? And no, you want that? Yeah.
You want the toy?
See, it pays the last stuff. Right? So, I guess the other thing I could touch on, how many of you guys frequent IGN? Have been to IGN before? Like, watch stuff on IGN?
Yeah.
Have you guys ever heard of the wiki guides on there? Stuff.
Yeah.
You guys, let me make it even easier for people that don't know what I'm talking about. Do you guys ever go play a game, want to go online, look up where to go, cheat codes, how to do something, stuff like that? Everybody does that a lot?
Yeah.
A lot? Okay, mom's like, yes.
Even daughters like
Even
yeah.
daughters like, yes. I'm the guy that helps write those guides. I'm the one that actually tries to make stuff like that. I freelance write, wiki guides for them. They're called wiki guides, but they're basically just guides, FAQs stuff. A lot of people like to go to GameFAQs back in the day, and even now to an extent, to find out certain stuff about games, especially when they're brand new. And for IGN specifically, I've done that for a bunch of games. I've done it for games like Fallout 4, Dissidia Final Fantasy NT, Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin. My first one that I did was, anybody own a PS Vita? Anybody cares about PS Vita?
Oh wait, no, PSP.
PS Vita. Anybody heard of a game called Freedom Wars?
Oh yeah.
I wrote the guide for that on IGN. It was my very first guide. And I didn't get paid for it. I did it to make a point because I wanted to show them that I wanted to do it. We'll get into that in a second. But I've done stuff like that. I did stuff like Kingdom on Steam. I've done it for, Detroit Become Human. Anybody play Detroit Become Human?
Oh my god.
I wrote the walkthrough, and I did the video walkthrough for that. I did also, anybody a Harry Potter fan?
Yeah.
You heard about that mobile game, Hogwarts Mystery?
Yes!
I wrote the guide for that. So I've done a lot. There's a lot more than I know for. Oh, any wrestling fans?
Yeah.
WWE 2K17 and 2K18?
Oh, you
That was me. Okay, but I'm not saying that to brag. The point is that not only to convey to you guys that I love games and I love doing stuff like that, because I try to keep myself with many hats and many hands and many places involved in video games. To be dynamic, hireable and stuff, but also just show you guys that I just love just being a part of that world. I love being a part of all that stuff.
I'm sorry, I have a question. When you write guides like that, and maybe for like collectibles and stuff, how do you troubleshoot like where's this thing or where's that
Well,
thing?
that's the
How do
funny
you-
part about this. You kind of just got to MacGyver and wing it, because sometimes in my case, as it's happened many times, especially with like a game like perfect example, Detroit Become Human. You don't know exactly what you're getting into. Nobody does. You got the game mad early before anybody else. I got it from, Quantic Dream. They sent me the code for the game on PlayStation 4. It's like, okay, here you go, do your review, do whatever. And now I have to figure it out, to give people the answers of how to play a game.
You have to find out how many times you can kill Connor.
I had to play through multiple times. I had to get the best playthrough to keep people alive. And then when people would die, I would all of a sudden have to like restart from the inside thing. But it's like stuff like that has a lot of repetitiveness, a lot of just diving into it, and just making sure things work. You want a shirt?
Sure.
You want a shirt?
I like stuff.
You like Metal Gear? No? Metal Gear. Take this one, since I know you don't like Metal Gear.
Cool. Thank you very much.
So I saw another hand back there in the back.
So do you ever do any like collaborative work on this stuff? Or?
Yes, I do. Before we dive into that, I guess I could say a bunch of people I've collaborated with. I've had the privilege and the honor of talking to a lot of major professionals in the games industry, also YouTube personalities. Anybody a fan of Jesse Cox? Anybody know who Jesse Cox is? Anybody know who Justin Wong is? You guys like fighting games? You guys know who the Angry Video Game Nerd is? You guys know who Colin Moriarty is? Anybody? Now we know who's real OG in here. Okay, all those people are different internet celebrities, different personalities involved with the games industry, gaming, and stuff like that. I've had the privilege of being able to interact and work with all of them. Not only to have them on my podcast shows, which is on YouTube right now, by the way. Hopefully, by the end of this panel, y'all can subscribe to my YouTube channel. Plug, shameless. But I've been able to do that with a lot of different people. Even Lady Pelvic, me and her did stuff on one of my podcast shows. I've been on her panels and stuff. I've also had the ability to interview different types of voice actors. I have a big thing with voice actors. Anybody know who the voice of Mario is?
Yeah.
Char's my name. That dude is a sweetheart. He knows how to talk in the Mario voice in like 7 languages. He's a beast. And I, been able to interview him, talk with him, chat it up, and say hi. Stuff like that. And then he'll get into other crazier things like, anybody know G4, right? G4TV.com? Anybody know a guy named Jeff Keighley, Adam Sessler, Victor Lucas? These are some of my idols, back in the day when G4 was still a thing, watching on TV. I had the privilege of being able to go to events, work with these people, talk to these people, get advice from them, career advice and stuff like that. Things like that to me are awesome, but it also helps me to kind of stay within this world and actually do something special, relevant, and something that's going to matter to people. One of my biggest things that I've always wanted to do was that I wanted to have an impact with my work in gaming that not only changed the perception in the mainstream media. Like, one of the things I always thought was weird was like, everybody knows who MatPat is, right?
Yeah.
MatPat Game Theory and stuff. He had the privilege of going to go meet with the Pope, which is a big. Here's the problem though, that's an awesome thing, that's a very big thing. But nothing else came out of it, and that bothered me, because it's like, yeah, that's awesome, we get to go see the Pope, but that's cool for you. What does that do for the greater gaming culture? What does that do for the greater gaming community? How does that change the perception of people looking at gaming as not only as a great art form, but as something that people don't have to hide? I care about the guy that is like a doctor or something, and he has to hide the fact that he has to play World of Warcraft for fear of losing his job. That's a real thing, by the way. That was in a news story. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. Okay, but my point is I care about stuff like that, and I want my work to matter, to be looked at as something awesome, to be something great. And working with people is usually, how you get there, and actually doing great work with them, even if they're already up there. So, you want to share? Sure. Come get a share. How's I don't know if you're a fan of 3KB, but I know it's a little big. Here you go. There you go. Little jumper shirt stuff. Okay, let's get some more questions.
So going back to collab, have you ever collabed so that you get your guys translated in different languages?
I've thought about it, and the thing is, lucky for me as a freelancer, I don't have to do that because I work with IGN US, which is here in North America and California and stuff, but then we have IGN Italia, IGN Japan, IGN Spain, IGN all these other, Australia, and usually they have their own teams and their own groups of people and their own staff that does this stuff. IGN is like a franchise, it's like McDonald's. Like, you got McDonald's all around the world, but there's not one headquarters that manages all of them. They just license out the name and stuff like that. Here, I got a cool thing for your outfit, okay? Do you like Final Fantasy?
Yes.
How's a Final Fantasy sword for you? I got this at E3, by the way. One of these things. Some of these things I got at like E3 and other events. Okay, here's big questions.
When did you start getting in? At what point were you involved in gaming and all that? I came in when we had nothing back in the 80s, early 80s, 1980s. I
was born in '88, so I grew up and lived through the real console wars. Like, it was hard out in the streets.
Yeah.
Like, people getting smacked up for playing Super. No, I'm just playing. I had a whole podcast on my YouTube channel talking about this, like where the era that was my come up in gaming. And for me, it was the '90s. I'm a '90s kid. I'm a millennial, and for me, it was Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, PlayStation, and 64. That era where it was 16-bit. It was the end of the 8-bit era into the 16-bit era, into the 32 and 64-bit era. And for me, gaming really started off as playing Sonic the Hedgehog, playing platformers, playing Super Mario World. It's one of my most favorite Mario games. That's how I associated it and really kind of start to understand my basics of gaming and stuff. And for me, gaming in that era for me, how I really got into this, was really about going to other people's houses and playing stuff that you didn't have. One of the things I used to do during the real console wars was that you would get a system, like I had a Sega Genesis, I would get a bunch of Sega Genesis games, but I had a friend that had Super Nintendo, I had another friend that had a Sega Genesis that had different games than me. I had a friend that eventually got a PlayStation 1 and we raided his house to go play PlayStation 1 games, and then so on and so forth. All throughout most of the time that when I lived back in New York and stuff. And that stuff, that's how I kind of just dived into this stuff. And I discovered it myself. I didn't really get it from anybody else, which was also funny. It was kind of like a happenstance, like a happy accident. So here, for you, Mom, I think I could give you, to put your kid in check. I mean, you're going to beat him over the head.
I was going to say, do you still have Metal Gear Solid t-shirts?
Of course. But this is good Metal Gear. Like, this isn't.
Yeah.
This is Kojima Productions Metal Gear. Like, Jerry, show him. It's okay. You can show the crowd. Look at that. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Big Mama coming through.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so let me get a couple more questions. One more.
Have you ever voiced acted for any of the games that you've
No,
done?
I have not. I've not voice acted. I've heard of people wanting to do that and wanting to like get involved with it besides being press or PR and
Yeah,
stuff.
because I know that some people do.
Yeah, I have a
as
friend of
well,
mine.
that's
Her
good.
name's Alana Pierce. She actually started doing that now. She went to IG and she's at Funhouse now. She's doing stuff like that. A lot of people start getting into different things. Naomi Kyle did that, and I think also Jessica Chobot was in Mass Effect. If you guys remember Mass Effect 3, she was actually an NPC that they modeled her out and she put in there. She did all that stuff and whatnot. So, how would you like a poster?
Yeah.
Are you a Zelda fan?
Yes.
Bear with me here. I feel like I'm Santa Claus on Halloween. Don't peeking. I'm gonna put this on a random, so bear with me. So before I get to more questions, I want to kind of switch gears and switch the topic. How is Twilight Princess?
Yeah.
How's that sound?
Awesome. Nice little
Yeah, show everybody. Good. Show everybody. Look at this.
Nice poster.
So,
There we go.
there you go.
There we go.
Yeah, go ahead. You can clap. It's okay. It's early. So, before I get into more questions, I know everybody wants to get stuff. I know everybody wants to question ask and stuff. Let me also talk about a couple other things. Like, what do I do now? Now that I'm in gaming, now that I've been at it for almost 7 years and stuff. One of my biggest goals is not only to blow up my social media, blow up my YouTube channel, get more people following my stuff, so I can reach out to more people and do more dope stuff, but also to go to more events. Like, I've had the privilege of going to places like E3. To me, E3 is the Super Bowl of the gaming industry. That's our Mecca. That's like making the trek over to Mecca or to Jerusalem for us gamers. And it's like something that at one point, like years ago, I thought it was not possible because I used to watch this on TV. This is like people streaming it on Spike TV, on G4 TV, you know, these stuff that was like, yo, you're on television? This is like a whole another level. And at one point when I went to my first E3, it wasn't my first industry event. My first industry event was a PAX, and that was done through actually writing, through making videos, podcasting constantly, almost every single week, almost nearly every single day. And I did it for a long time. I did it for no pay, too. You know, that's another aspect that I wanted to touch on from earlier, is that sometimes when you're trying to do something, turn your passion into a career, sometimes it takes working and not getting any sort of spoils from it in order to like turn it into something where you can. You know, you have to know your worth. Like sometimes, one of the things that's a big problem in the games industry, especially for media people, is working for free. Because they get this thing called exposure. Everybody heard about exposure. Where are my freelancers in the audience? Anybody freelance artwork and stuff? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Like, you know, sometimes, you know, people will say like, oh, I'll give you exposure, I'll let other people know about your work, and that's good for a time. But then there comes a point, right? That one point where you're like, okay, I need to be compensated for my work. This is my time is valuable, my work is valuable, my work means something. It should mean something that should have value to other people. And that's the same way that I looked at it with my writing, with my video editing, with my podcasting, with my interview skills, with my public speaking like this. You know, stuff like that, that eventually at one point I had to kind of, you know, put my foot down in more than a few cases. There were some instances where relationships, like business relationships, would end because they didn't want to pay me. They wanted to have work done for them, but they didn't want to have people get paid and compensated for the work. They didn't want good work, they just wanted work. And it's like, okay, that's a little annoying stuff. But outside of that, I wanted my work to kind of like, you know, really reach out a lot more people and allow me to go to other places. One of my biggest goals now in the next year, I want to go to Japan, I want to go to Germany, and I want to go to Paris. The reason being, Tokyo Game Show, Gamescom, and Paris Games Week. You know, a lot of these big events and stuff. I had an opportunity one time that I couldn't go because I didn't have a passport to go to Canada, to go to Eidos Montreal. Everybody remembers Shadow of the Tomb Raider, right? Yeah. I had an opportunity to go visit the studio in Montreal to go play that game early, and I couldn't go. It's like I wanted to like to be able to put myself in a position where I could be able to make things like that happen. Where it's like when it comes up, I can just go and just do that. I want to be able to do more and be able to tell people about it more. To be able to, you know, show people on YouTube and other places like, yo, this is an exciting career to be a part of. One of the other things I want to mention, and I'll start taking more questions. Everybody's seen on social media the term game journalist. People have a certain thing about it. Everybody's sort of gamer here, right? As soon as I say that, everyone's like, it's like mood down, right? But one of the things that always bothered me over the last couple of years was that people have a certain preconceived notion about the term games journalist or games media person. You know, gaming media. You know, everybody's caught up on the media. There's a lot of political stuff I won't even get into now, but like a lot of that has bled over from stuff that's happened over the last few years. And one of the things that bothered me was that people would automatically have this preconceived notion about you when you say you're a games journalist. It means that, oh, you're just not trying to talk about games, you're not just trying to do this, you're trying to push an agenda, you're trying to condescend people, which I think is totally wrong. I wrote a whole editorial about it one time for the Coalition, talking about like, yo, like, us in the games media, we're meant to serve the people. We're meant to inform the people. We're meant to let people judge for themselves. That's one of the prime, that's what's called the prime directive of all media and all journalism, is to inform people through facts and other stuff and let them make the judgment, not condescend them and try to instill your judgment into them. And that's what I feel like people get caught up on, and the audience gets tired of that, and they automatically become hostile towards that. So I was like, I'm one of those people out here in the industry that's trying to represent gaming and represent game journalists. I represent my work with dignity, respect, with a lot of, friendliness, I guess you could say, a lot of stuff that isn't associated with that hostility that I feel like has been injected into gaming like really bad now over the last 3 years, give or take, since this stuff started. It's bled out not just to games media people, to developers, to PR people, to consumers, to social media, to publishers, companies. Everybody knows CD Projekt Red, right?
Oh yeah.
The Witcher. Everybody's a fan of The Witcher. Cyberpunk 2099. Anybody excited? A couple people. One, two. Okay. It's gotten to the point where companies have to be mindful of like what they say and what they speak, because things are just so sensitive and so hostile right now. It's not sensitive in the fact that like, you have to cater to everything, but like even just one little thing could be misinterpreted because of all this stuff going on. I was like, you know what? I want to make sure that I make it clear to everybody that the work that I do kind of gets away from that. So that way when people hear me speak about games, they're getting something of value and good food for thought about games through all my work, as reviews or whatever else that I do and stuff. Any questions? Any questions? What's up?
So, trying to break in from the YouTube side, you can just throw a video out there and get it in front of people. But when you're trying to break in from the writing side, you're kind of more dependent on getting people to take notice of what you're doing, try to get websites to be willing to post your material. What would you recommend as some tips for people trying to break in from the writing side, or specific websites that take open submissions?
That's the funny thing. It's actually both applicable to both sides of the coin. It's not just one or the other, because the same philosophies and approach you could do for YouTube video making, or just podcasting audio, or writing in general, could be applied across the board. And you do need outlets, websites, hosting platforms, social media to get your stuff out there, but you don't necessarily need to depend on one. One of the big things that I find that a lot of YouTubers get caught up on is that they depend too much on YouTube. They immediately, YouTube makes the changes, everybody panics, like, go to DEF CON 5, like, it's over, it's a wrap. It's always a wrap, every couple of weeks it's a wrap for everybody, but then it's like, oh no, we're all good, false alarm. Like, but my point is that, you can still get your stuff out there without any traditional means, or the means that everybody else is doing. I mean, sometimes going to websites that you find on the net and just reaching out to them. Not just, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram stuff, just sending an email. You gotta put yourself out there in order to get the people to notice you. Otherwise, just putting your work out there, if people aren't looking at it, if you don't tell people about it, they're not gonna look at it in the first place. And I had to struggle with that personally for a while, because I was doing work for websites like Real Taco Gamer, Shifted to You, which is not around anymore. I even used to freelance for an outlet down here towards South Florida in Miami called Out Loud Multimedia. And they're like, not only were they not paying me or paying me peanuts, but they also weren't telling people about my stuff. I had to go out and do that myself. I had to go out and reach to the coalition, or reach out to Playboy, or reach out to IGN and be like, hey, I'm out here, I do stuff, I want to get paid too, I want to help you out, I want to do work for you. But all of that came from like actually doing stuff and putting myself out there, taking the initiative enough, not to the point where you're hassling people, like throwing your work in your face, hustling, going to people's streams, telling them about your stream and stuff. No, it's all about at least taking enough initiative to be like, hey, I'm here. And then all that you can take and wing it from there. So do you want a hoster?
Sure.
You like Final Fantasy?
Yes.
Now, here's the important question. Do you like Final Fantasy 8?
It's decent. Come on. Okay, that's actually pretty sweet.
I want that.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah, you can clap. Let's take another question.
Okay, so how long do you think it takes you on average to play a game, pull through enough to write a guide on it?
To not write a guide on it.
No, to write.
To write a guide,
how
it
long
varies.
does it take?
It depends on the game. Like, I've had games, again, like Fallout 4, which felt like forever. And even though I wasn't just the only person doing it, it was multiple people, where I was writing the wiki guide. I was responsible for finding all the Easter eggs, all the vaults, all the different key points of interest on certain locations to put on a map and stuff. That's a lot of work. It doesn't sound like a lot in the grand scheme of Fallout 4, but it's a lot of work. People don't understand. And then there'll be other games which aren't that bad, like the City of Final Fantasy NT. Like, again, it's just playing it, arcade mode, mapping all the stuff for the characters, doing a couple videos here and there, and it'll be a lot less, but it's still work. But it varies from platform to platform, or at least game to game, or whatever it is I'm playing, or whatever it is I'm needed at the time. Well, obviously, I want to play games and not have to write the guide. That'd be great. I could just do reviews. I love writing reviews because I could just sit there for however long I need, play the game, and then formulate my thoughts and put it together and actually put it in video format, put it in written format and stuff. But even when I have to write guides and stuff, I still find it fun because at least I'm still getting into the nitty and gritty of the game itself and just putting it out there. But there's never really a set time frame. What I do try though is try to put my own little personal limit and goals. I try sometimes to do what I can to knock it out in a week or two. That's like my own personal thing. That's not like for everybody, because sometimes I'll be playing games for like 12 plus hours straight, like sitting in front of my TV, you know, not like in one spot, but like moving around and stuff, like for 12 hours just playing this game, just capturing video or marking things down and stuff. But again, it varies.
I have a follow-up
What's
question. After you play a game like that, like nitpicking and like going through it.
for review or?
For a review or for a guide, do you get sick of it? Like, do you like get?
Yeah. Yeah. Real talk. Yes. There are times where I wanted to. Oh my God. Here's a perfect. There are two games, one game type, but two specific games that made me go through hell when I was writing the game guide. So that was Dark Souls 2: Scholar of the First Sin and Neo. Anybody that's played those games, who's played Bloodborne before in here? Who's played Dark Souls? Who's played Neo? Who's played Lords of the Fallen? Anybody know? Those are all the same type of game. They're all that Soul-style game which is meant to punish you and make you work on the game's time, not your own time. It's like trying to take care of a puppy, but you gotta obey the puppy's rules. It's like the puppy's putting you in check, like from the very get-go. And with me, I had to struggle very hard, especially with Dark Souls, because I had to get a friend of mine to kind of do co-op with me to run through the game. We had to go through the entire game and mark off everything that was different from the original Dark Souls 2. That's in Dark Souls Scholar of the First Sin. He was playing every boss, every DLC, exploring every nook and cranny, getting killed by every little annoying thing. Like there was a lot of work in that. I went through hell for about 3 weeks with that, and it was not fun. And I got sick of it. I was done with the Soul series, and then they pulled me right back in again with Neo because they needed somebody to do the actual DLC for Neo because the guy that was supposed to do it bailed on them for the exact same reason. I'm like, but I got it done, and that one I didn't need help with. I actually took my time and actually struggled and hauled right through it, but it was still enough to like really kind of deal with it. You want a poster?
Yeah.
You want a poster? I'll give you a poster. You like Nintendo?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love the change in tone that keeps happening. I hate this.
What's up? Back. What's up?
When you say you like write a guide and you take a look at all of you're looking at everything. Is there do you have like a set kind of style? Like you take notes like each time? Or is you
Yeah,
kind
to
of
an
wing it
extent.
each time?
To an extent, because we have what's called a style guide, you know, for freelancers, where it's like we have to keep everything consistent. You have to like, you know, set everything in a certain format, put pictures a certain way and stuff like that. But like for me, like when I'm going through the process, sometimes it's like, you know, dealing with like, you know, marking off specific key points of interest, specific things that I know are difficult that stand out to me, but that people are going to want to know. Stuff what's called, you ever heard the phrase SEO friendly? Okay, what that means is basically when you're doing a subject or a piece of content online, and it's something that you know people are going to search a lot for. So it has certain keywords that, like for example, Easter eggs in Fallout 4, or like, you know, emotes in Fortnite.
The words that they search up.
Stuff that like people are going to want to search a lot for, that are going to be very popular and trendy and stuff. Things like that, you know, obviously work well with a guide, and it's something that's like really important. You know, depending on what type of content it is. Like for me, some of the biggest ones I usually do is obviously Easter eggs, obviously cheat codes, bosses, how-to guides, you know, things like that. Walkthrough, you know, because that's a big one with almost every game. You have to show everybody the walkthrough and stuff like that. The good ending for like, for example, Detroit Become Human. The good ending, the bad ending, you know, things like that. Variations, how to keep everybody alive. You know, stuff, things like that is what's really you keep in mind. But again, it varies again from game to game. You want a poster? I got another Nintendo poster for you. Now, question, you like Splatoon?
Yeah.
Here's the Splatoon poster, a dope one.
That's dope.
What game do you enjoy like making a guide for the most?
A guide for the most. Ooh, this is tough. I wrote the guide for Tekken 7. I wrote the guide for Tekken 7 for IGN, and it was cool because I did everything for Tekken 7 at IGN. The guide, you know, the videos, all the extra stuff, and then I did the preview stuff for Tekken 7 on the Coalition. I got to go to the Bandai Namco headquarters in San Francisco, and I got to meet Katsuhiro Harada. Anybody know who that is?
Yes.
Katsuhiro, for those that don't know, Katsuhiro Harada is the guy who created Tekken. And let me tell you something. This guy is so dope one of the most dope people I've ever met. He walks in, first off, it's like it's choreographed too. We walk into the building, it's Bandai Namco, they got Gundam, they got Tekken, they got Dark Souls, like statues all over the place. Then we see this one little arcade cabinet. It says Tekken 7. It was an imported Tekken 7 arcade cabinet from Japan. Okay, so it was Tekken 7 like Fated Retribution or whatever. But it was standing there. And then there's this dark figure just sitting there right in front of the thing. Like, don't even say anything. So we casually walk over, turns around, it's Katsuhiro Harada, and he's wearing a Pac-Man suit. Now, let me explain this to you. This Pac-Man suit wasn't any normal Pac-Man suit. It was a Pac-Man board. Literally everything was the Pac-Man board. He had the tie that was a Pac-Man board, the shirt was a Pac-Man board, the jacket, the pants, the socks, the shoes. I swear to God, this man probably had the underwear too. And he made it look good. Like, really good. But, seeing things like that, I got to do everything with Tekken 7. I got to play it with him. I got to go meet some of the team that actually, did stuff for Tekken 7. And the other Bandai Namco team. I got to play it early too. I love Tekken, so that was like a really cool moment for me and stuff. So, would you like a poster too?
Sure.
I got another one. You like Zelda?
Yeah.
You like the Wind Waker?
Hell yeah.
How's this Wind Waker poster for you?
That's nice.
There you go. Nice cool Wind Waker poster. Who else?
When you're writing guides with other people, how is that experience with like working with other people and bouncing off of them?
It varies. It depends on the guide. Like, obviously for Fallout, we had more than like 5-6 people doing it. And then there was another one where I did Middle-earth Shadow of War that I worked with 2 other people. And then I did also, you guys remember the Naruto games, Ultimate Ninja Storm?
Yes.
Okay, I did the guide for Ultimate Ninja Storm 4. I did the guide, yeah, Ultimate Ninja Storm 4. And I worked with, anybody know who Miranda Sanchez is at IGN? Anybody ever heard the name? You guys are anime fans, you never heard this name? Yeah, this is why you should know this. Miranda Sanchez helped run IGN Anime, okay? And before she did all that, she was writing guides. She still does, but we got to work on that. Oh, and Attack on Titan. I did the guide for the Attack on Titan game.
Nice.
So for IGN, I did the video stuff and I did the ring guide. So that was one we worked on together. So that's fun, that's dope, that's cool, and it varies from person to person. Sometimes you'll have to pick up more work than the other person depending on the situation. Okay, here's one. Perfect example. Everybody's played Nier Automata, right? Everybody's played Nier Automata. Everybody knows what Nier Automata is?
Yeah.
Okay, so Nier Automata is this action hack and slash game. I wrote the guide at IGN for that game, but the reason why I did it is because the guy that was supposed to do it quit. And I was supposed to work with him, but he quit working on the guide and completely just dropped it, and they needed someone to work on it, so I had to do the entire guide myself. Like I had to do all the videos, I had to write everything out, do everything about that game. So there are moments like that when it happens, but for the most part, it's good. You want Skittles? Because I already gave you something? You good? Okay, so you get nothing. I'm kidding. Okay, what's up?
Alright, so now when you do these guides and like you find the Easter eggs and all these stuff in the video games, do you have just like notebooks of where you found it so you can write it in?
Usually text documents, like Word files, WordPad files and stuff of the sort. Things like that where, again, just my notes, or when I'm writing out paragraphs of stuff like that where, again, just stuff to keep in mind or stuff that I want to translate over to the IGN wikis where I'll copy and paste and put them on there and stuff like that. Do you want Skittles? Because I gave you something right here. Okay, so, what's up?
Well, your camera's dead.
My camera's dead? Okay, yeah, it turns off, yeah, go figure. But anyway, so one other thing I guess I could touch on before we kind of mix it up and before we could ask more questions and stuff, because I still got a lot more. I got some big ones I can give you.
Yes.
Matter of fact, I don't know what if you guys know what this is.
It's upside down.
It's upside down, so I can't see it.
Okay.
Yeah. But what can I mention also? I guess I could talk a little bit more about YouTube, because a lot of people are YouTubers, right? They want to be YouTubers, so they care about YouTube?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so for me, video making, even though I always knew how to video edit and I knew how to work with video and stuff, YouTube is a much more recent thing for me where I'm trying to blow up my own YouTube channel, which again, if you guys want to check it out as I'm doing this or later, it's youtube.com/gamerswithgames channel, or just look up Jake James Lugo on YouTube and you can see me there, that's my YouTube channel. Subscribe, please. But the reason why I went into that is because I feel like, not just the writing aspect, the podcasting aspect, you have to at least be adaptable and hireable and be like a renaissance man in everything in the industry. And with YouTube, I've noticed and observed a lot of different people that go on there, what they do great, what they do well, what they do terrible, and what they, to avoid. You can take examples and take a lot of, good food for thought and wisdom from all aspects of YouTube and apply it to whatever niche that is. Okay, yeah, thank you, subscribe for me. Like for example, you don't have to just watch gaming YouTubers to know how to run a gaming YouTube channel. You don't have to watch just anime review channels to know how to review anime for your own YouTube channel. It's a feature content based on anime. You could go through the whole spectrum. You could watch Logan Paul videos and get exactly what not to do for your YouTube channel and apply it to yours, and I think you'll be well better off. You might not have a couple million subscribers as Homeboy over there, but you'll be better off, trust me. So it really helps to do that, and one of the things that I do is that I watch everything. I watch a lot. I watch a lot of YouTubers that are gamers, you know, MadPad, Lady Pelvic, what is it, The Game Grumps, the Angry Video Game Nerd, Colin's last name, Colin Moriarty, Kind of Funny, What's Good Games, all these different places. Even guys like Electric Playground, which is Victor Lucas. Anybody heard of Electric Playground or no? Okay. You should watch it. It's now they run in Canada, like they put it on TV in Canada, but they also put it up on YouTube. You can watch. It's like old school G4 TV shows you could watch, and it's like, you know, reviews and all this stuff. But watching all of them, taking examples of like how to talk about games, how to actually present yourself on camera, how to actually, you know what's trending, or at least, you know, see what can be trending and kind of like explore that, and see what's not trending and try to put it out there into the ether and see what, you know, people could want to follow and stuff. Like, you don't necessarily, to start a gaming YouTube channel, at least since we're talking about gaming here, you don't have to start a Fortnite channel just to become popular on YouTube. You don't have to start a Fortnite channel just to get started on there. Same thing with streaming. I could say the same thing for Twitch, you know, streaming on Twitch and whatever platform, even YouTube. You don't have to do what's trendy. You don't have to do what everybody else is doing. You have to stand out. I think you have to stand out in your own way. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to kind of, you know, be abhorrent strictly to the rules. You could make things work for what's you. Okay, and I always have this Bruce Lee quote that sticks with me. Adapt what's useful and reject what's useless. Okay, if something works for somebody else, it might work for you. You don't always have to use it. Or you don't always have to kind of like reject it. It could actually, what doesn't work for somebody else can work for you. Again, it's all about adapting to what comes at you and what works for your content specifically, like that. And for me, with YouTube, again, being on camera, seeing other people be on camera, what not to do, what to do, stuff, try to adapt that and kind of implement it and kind of tie it in with my own editing, with what I know from IGN and from other places, the way I capture video. I don't know, again, if you guys go to my YouTube channel eventually and you guys see the most recent review I put up right before Lumi-Con, I actually put up my review for Soul Calibur 6. If you look at that review, prime example of all these different things working together. Again, a brand new game, me on camera, game footage edited, you know, to perfection, you know, with music from the game and other music from other parts of the series, talking about my thoughts about the game, you know, whether it's good or bad, not always praising, not always condescending, a whole bunch of different stuff that I feel like you'll get something out of when you watch that type of content and just put it out there.
Copyright stuff, how do you, I mean...
This is fickle because it's different for everybody. You know, some people with copyright stuff, there's a thing called fair use. That where everybody says this, but they don't truly understand. Fair use is pretty much using anything for whatever content that's yours originally, you know, in order to make something brand new, without like copy pasting whatever thing it is. A lot of people run into it with music. A lot of people run into it with gameplay. Anybody knows about Nintendo's annoyances with YouTube? Everybody's heard about this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The main problem, and I've run into it myself, even though I've worked with Nintendo in order to do reviews for games, they have this real big problem with YouTube where they copyright claim all their video footage, even if it's stuff I shot myself. It's like, nope, that's ours. And they can do that because they have the trademark. And really fair use is really the people that created stuff allowing you, quote unquote, allowing you to do what you want to create your own original work. That's why the law looks at it as like they can't sue you for taking whatever footage or music and stuff like that and sue you for thousands of dollars just because you wanted to put it to an actual video review of something. It gets very gray, it gets very muddy and stuff, but it's still something that's like, you know, really, you know, important and stuff. So, you know what? I think I got a cool thing for you. Take this. I don't know if you like Arrow.
Oh, yeah, she does.
Arrow, Flash, and Supergirl.
Anybody else? Because I know I'm seeing the same hands over there. Anybody else in the back over there? Like, any questions? I know. Again, I got a lot of stuff over here.
I don't know you two things. I just want to ask a question.
You on the side? I saw you there. Yeah, you.
Like how many platforms should you like try and get into at first? So like
As many as you can. A lot. Here's the thing. I say that with the little asterisk without being overwhelmed. I think that if you're on YouTube, if you're making content on YouTube, or even if you're putting stuff on the internet, you need every social media platform. You need Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Skype, Discord. You know, whatever you could have to work for you. Even Snapchat to an extent. People don't care about Snapchat anymore, like really. But like, you know, if you have a means of getting your stuff out there and putting yourself out there to build up your personal brand, what a lot of people like to throw around, which is basically you and your work and what you represent and stuff, use it. Put it out there. Connect. There are ways to connect it where you can post on one and it goes out to everything else. You know, people get intimidated is because they're like, oh, in order to be a gamer online, you know, gaming person, you have to be on YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. and all these other places and stuff. But like you could curate one, but eventually branch off to other things. I mean, you don't have to use it if you don't want to, but I think if it's there, you should. So yeah, I got another poster for you. You like Zelda?
My friend does.
Your friend does? This one? No, I think this one. Maybe this one. The cool little Majora's Mask there. What's up?
So going back to like the copyright stuff and fair use and stuff, even if you put like disclaimers on there.
Yeah,
saying,
keep talking. I'm sorry. I just want to put this on my.
Even if you put like disclaimers on there and say, hey, I'm not making any money off this, it's just my opinion stuff, but they still take things down like that from either like your websites or.
It depends. I mean, again, fair use is a very gray area right now. There's no official ruling on fair use in the Supreme Court or any sort of court. And eventually it will come and people are not going to like the result. But like for the time being now, when you put stuff out there, some companies will try to flex on you when it comes to like, especially if they don't like what you have to say about what you're doing or whatever. But when it really comes down to it, as long as you're just doing something that's original and something that, you know, you're pulling from different sources and making something that's uniquely yours, like that, even if it's their copyrighted music and stuff, you should be totally fine. Okay, it should be totally cool and stuff. Let me see what I can do. You know what, you like Kingdom Hearts?
Yes.
This one's a little banged up though, but it's something I got. I don't know if you like Kingdom Hearts Unchained Key. It's a little banged up, I'm sorry. So I say this is like, oh my god, it's like complete wrecked.
It's like torn off.
Still looks awesome.
Yeah, in the back, what's up?
Is there any way to like practice the way you would produce content, like write or
By doing it.
way, or
By doing it, you just have to, if you want to do something, do it. If you want to make videos and you want to do vlogs, put a camera on and start talking. Talk about what you want to talk about. Talk about, you know, even if you're embarrassed a little bit and intimidated, because you'd be very intimidated. Like, this camera could go out to millions of people potentially on the internet and stuff. Or even like a crowd, like it's the exact same idea, but the point is you just get up and you just do it. You just put it out there. If you want something, it's like a muscle. Like Greg Miller says, like kind of funny. It's like a creative muscle. You have to be able to work it out and actually use it to help it get stronger and help it get to whatever you want it to be at. Well, just learn from your mistakes, take it in, and do whatever it is that you got to do, as long as you're doing something. Because if you're not doing something, obviously you're not going to get anywhere like that. But just do it. So, here, I got a cool thing I can give you. How do you like? You have a Nintendo Switch?
I do not.
Oh god. Okay. So you know what? Because we're
Is it a
gonna
Nintendo Switch?
we're gonna punish you
This is Nintendo
for not having a Nintendo Switch. You're gonna get this.
Okay.
A little water filter. Your punishment for not having a Nintendo Switch. What's up?
How do you put Easter eggs and other sorts of things into the game?
You don't put it because I don't make games. That's what developers do.
Oh,
I'm a
okay.
critic.
So what do you do, I guess?
I'm a critic. I'm a reviewer. I'm a writer about games. I'm someone that observes
Oh,
games.
okay. Sorry, I was like confused. I thought. I'm so
She's
sorry.
like, how do you make games? I have no idea. I do not
Sorry,
know.
dude. I thought you when you were talking. I thought you were the creator of the game.
No, God, no. I don't want to be that guy and then get criticized on the internet. No, absolutely not.
Okay, so you're just a critic. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that makes more
Question:
sense.
do you have a Nintendo Switch?
Yes.
Here, I got something for you. You don't like pink, or do you like pink?
I don't care.
Yeah, come get this. A Switch case for you.
Nice. Thank you.
Case. I know that a lot of people don't have cases for their Switches, but it's like different stuff.
It's purple, so I don't care.
It
I like
says
purple.
pink though. I mean, it looks purple. Don't get me wrong.
I don't care. It's purple. It's not pink, so I don't really care. Thank you.
What's up?
So when you're making your guys, back on the topic of Easter eggs, do you have like any specific method for finding them? Because you're probably going to be
No,
one
you
of
just
the
run into them. Just gotta look. You gotta look around, find leads, and do different stuff.
I like the Easter eggs in Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah.
Those are freaking awesome.
Which is crazy, but like different stuff that what does he even get here? You also get a water filter. What's up?
Okay, speaking of Easter eggs, what's your favorite Easter egg you ever find?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Oh, this is tough.
My water filter.
My favorite Easter egg that I've ever found. Oh my god, I'm trying to think because there's so many.
Yeah, I know. There's like.
Oh, I got a funny one. In Fallout 4, there's an Easter egg for the movie Jaws. Does anybody here play Fallout 4 like fully?
No, but I'm about to.
Yeah, there's a couple movie Easter eggs in there that are like straight up like nods to like different. So there's a whole UFO thing that's a nod to Alien. There's a thing to Jaws that's like, and all it is just like a giant like mutant like shark fish thing, a guy, and then some like other thing that's related to the movie that's like completely random and like stupid and stuff. Do you have a Nintendo Switch?
Yeah.
Here it is. You get the boost pack.
Oh, nice.
Little charger thing for you.
Oh, nice.
So
That's nice.
before we get more questions, okay, what other thing let me ask you guys this. What other topic of gaming do you guys want to hear a little bit more about? So that way I can kind of mix it up. Okay, because I won't give anything away. I want to kind of mix up the topics so I can get a little bit more diverse question stuff. Like
I'm most interested in the writing and journalism side.
writing and journalism. Anybody else? Like what other topics?
Working with Twitch.
Working with Twitch. Okay, I'll blend them both. It's actually pretty good because I haven't talked enough about Twitch. I'm using Twitch now. I'm actually on Twitch right now, twitch.tv, twitch.tv/gamerswithgains, which is, let's say, the same thing. I try to stream every single weekday. And again, it's another thing with YouTube where, you have to curate it constantly and try to be consistent and stuff, and that's part of it. But also, I think Twitch is a little bit tougher sometimes because you have to have the right equipment to kind of stream live video and stuff, and that can be a little bit annoying. But the key thing here is consistency. It's keeping a schedule for people to come and watch. Because I get mediocre views. I get like at the most maybe 5 viewers sometimes, which sucks. Because I could totally work like an amazing, crazy chat with people just going off like hundreds of views. I wish I could have that so I could just have fun with it. But again, consistency and patience. And the same thing goes for writing too. Consistency and patience. Because with writing, I try to write at least 1 or 2, maybe 3 or 4 things every single week. Whether it's a review, whether it's a news story, whether it's posting up an interview, whether it's posting up a video, an unboxing. One of the perks, that's one thing I haven't touched on. Doing all this stuff, one of the perks and reason why I'm able to give away a lot of this stuff, is because sometimes companies see the type of work I put out and they're able to give me free things. Whether it's games, whether it's tech, accessories, little freebies like this, because I'm able to kind of like, tell more people about it, but also put it out there and give my opinions about it, reviewing it, and actually explore other aspects, not just the games themselves. So for a perfect example, anybody here a fan of Dungeons and Dragons? Anybody else? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Where my OGs at? So there was a book that came out recently called Dungeons and Dragons Art and Arcana, a visual history stuff. There was a book. It was actually written by one of the guys from Critical Role, and it was also written by the guy from Star Wars: The Force Unleashed, the actor that played The Apprentice, and a couple other people. But it's a visual art book that's like all this compilation of like everything from original edition to 5th edition, I believe it is, of D&D. And it like covers all this different stuff, but it has this beautiful fantasy artwork. And the reason why I did an unboxing for it and how I tied it to games is because D&D, a lot of those tabletop RPGs, is the DNA of what you get from Western RPGs and Japanese RPGs. Like that. All those stats and those EXP you're getting and stuff, we're lucky because we don't have to use 20 or 10-sided die in order to figure that out. And like actually paint our little stuff. No, that's all done for us. It's the same approach. But I find little things like that, or sometimes I do a lot of reviews for headsets. I do a lot of reviews for like Turtle Beach, Astro, and stuff. They'll send me headsets and I unbox and I review and stuff like that. But again, it's putting out more content, staying consistent about it in all these different places to put it out there for more people so they can enjoy all the great content and stuff like that. So hopefully it kind of blends a little bit of that too. Yeah, what's up?
Okay. Have you done anything for The Legend of Zelda?
Yes.
Can you talk about it?
I can talk a little bit about it. Yeah, I won't give you anything though because this is a heartfelt story. Okay? This is emotional.
For all of us. For all of us.
For all of us. This is gonna be emotional. Okay, and I'll be totally honest. I've never talked about this fully publicly. I've only done it one time. I have a love and hate and tumultuous relationship with The Legend of Zelda. Because my ex-fiance, we fell in love through The Legend of Zelda. And one of the things was we originally were gonna get married and do a whole bunch of stuff with that, but we ended up breaking it off. And I looked at it as The Legend of Zelda as a franchise, even though I loved it for many, many years. I've played so many games, I've read about it so many times. It was like that friend that you meet that person through them. If that makes any sense like that. And then when things come to an end, you kind of are mad at the other person because you associate it with them. That was me for many years with The Legend of Zelda, because I was, let me put it this way, and I'll talk very lightly as much of it. I proposed to the person at Disney World, and it didn't work out. Put it that way. So, underneath Magic Kingdom. Okay, so you can only imagine how that felt. It took me about 5 years in total to get over it. Like that. It was one of those things was like, okay, you know what? Let me sit down and just play. you know, and just deal with this, because I actively avoided playing any Legend of Zelda games for many years. I skipped out almost on Link Between Worlds. I had to sit down and write that review because I was the only one to do it, and that was not fun at the time. But I actively did that stuff personally for me because it was like my own little therapy. It was cathartic. So, and then eventually, when I was ready, I was able to kind of pick myself up and actually do that stuff. And now, luckily for me, I went to E3 to go see Breath of the Wild before it was released, and I got to go meet a lot of the guys behind it, including NGI Inuma and Miyamoto. You know, stuff like that. You know, major stuff. But again, it's a very up and down relationship with me with The Legend of Zelda. And now that I'm a little bit older, you know, and things past this stuff, now I'm able to kind of like, you know, look at the series in a different light and not associate it with stuff of the past, and actually look at it for what it is, and like a phenomenal, iconic, amazing series with games that are go throughout the years that are literally going to outlast a lot of people and stuff. So that's my relationship with Zelda. So, what other subjects can I talk about again? Because how am I doing on time? Okay, I got 10 minutes. So, what other topics do you guys want to hear about in relation to games, media, games journalism, all that stuff, whatnot? So,
when doing YouTube recording or Twitch streaming or what kind of equipment do you use or even suggest to use?
That thing there for my vlogs when I'm on camera, an Elgato for capturing footage for games, a mic. I have an H1 mic, and sometimes you can use a Yeti or a Snowball mic, you know, from like Blue or any of those companies. Do that, headset sometimes. A good PC. I need to get a better PC. I have a crappy PC, and I'm hoping that over time. Yeah, I gotcha. They give me the 10-minute mark. You know, to get a better PC, because the better the PC you have, the easier it is to render and it easier is to process and make videos and get content faster. Stuff like that. Your tech and your tools are really key, but sometimes what really sucks, and it's kind of a struggle with me, you have to work with the tools that you have, because you're not banking. You're not having hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy the best equipment. Ninja is the way he's at. Everybody knows Ninja, right? From Fortnite. So he's at where he's at because of over time he's accumulating money to get all the best equipment and get all the brand deals and all the sponsorships and the connections and all that stuff. People look at that and they get intimidated. Obviously, because my man's playing with Drake. But like, you know, everybody wants that, but they don't understand the process that comes with it. So really, when it comes to tools and it comes to like your equipment and stuff, you have to work with what you have and try to upgrade and get better wherever you can. So you know what? You have a Switch?
Yeah, I do.
Here, come get this. Awesome. A tough case for your Switch. Whatnot. So.
What's the, you know, and this is probably not a good question. What's the pay look like?
The pay varies. Like, this is a lot of people don't like talking about money. That's the thing, and it really varies. You don't make a lot of money working in the games industry when it comes to games media stuff. When it comes to being a journalist, it varies. Sometimes you make less than $40,000 a year. Depends, okay? Because some outlets are real cheap, and also keep in mind the cost of living, where you're going to go. Eventually, I want to go to the Bay Area, San Francisco, and LA, and I'm in LA, California, because that's where IGN's at. That's where GameSpot is at. That's where GDC. Anybody know what GDC is? No? The Game Developers Conference, one of the biggest events here in gaming here in the industry, besides E3, besides PAX, besides Comic-Con, but specifically the Game Developers Conference, because especially if you like the process of making games and you want to be around those people that make these great games, that's where you go. And, you know, sometimes they happen in places and it costs money. Like me, it costs money to go to E3. I have to pay that out of my pocket to go get my hotel, flights, and all that stuff. And I save up through freelancing and stuff. So sometimes it can be a little tough. A lot of the stuff that you get, especially starting out, comes from freelance work. Which again, anybody that's a freelance artist knows that struggle, knows that can be very annoying. It can be very tedious, especially when you're trying to reach out to people that have paid, which is a real whole thing in itself. But it can become something lucratively, you know, comfortable at one point. Depends on what you're doing and stuff. So, do you want one more little thing? I think I can give you. Sure. Here's some stickers. You like Guitar Hero though?
I love Guitar Hero.
I don't know if you remember these.
Oh, fuck yeah, these are going on my guitar, you know what I'm thinking.
What would you say is a good work-life balance?
The good work-life balance is whatever is good for you and whatever works for you, because people try to come up with these formulas and try to come up with these processes, which some of them work, some of them don't, but it comes down to the individual. If you can work more hours on yourself and you're comfortable with that, go ahead. As long as you make sure you take care of yourself, you eat, you sleep, you talk to people, you don't stay in the room and become antisocial and stay on Twitter, Instagram, and social media all the time like that. As long as you understand that, you can make a good work-life balance. Here, do you want this? Come get it. This is a game. For anybody that doesn't know, this is a game device. So you can take a tablet and turn it into a gaming machine.
What?
It turns into a controller, like an Xbox controller. There you go. There you go.
When you're doing freelance works and stuff like that, would you recommend going about doing work for exposure at first before you can get your foot to the door?
Well, that's what I was speaking on earlier. Okay? And while I'm talking, if you guys want to get my business card, it's all right here. So you guys, feel free to come and get it whenever you want. But like, my whole thing, when it comes to working for free, okay, and getting exposure, okay, you can do it for a decent amount of time. But then there comes that point where you have to know your value for your work. You have to know your value for how much you're worth and what you do. Okay, yeah, because I know that it's almost done.
Yeah, I think
It's almost done, so yeah, what's it called? No, I got 5 minutes. But, yeah, working for freelance is a good thing, it's a great thing, and you know, working for exposure can help you out, but you can't do it all the time. You have to be able to make bread, you have to be able to make money, and be able to put food on your table.
But when you go about like the writing, you just started up your website, you're just putting up, you know, your editorials, your reviews.
Oh, like the actual what you do?
Right,
Okay,
how do you bring like all
you
these?
do, the way you do that is not only telling people about your website through various different social media stuff, but also sending pitches and doing freelance work for other websites. Like, for me, I freelance obviously for IGN, but when it comes to writing stuff, like specific stuff, I freelance for Playboy. When people think Playboy, they think the other thing. But like, Playboy had a gaming division where they talked about video games. I wrote like 2 or 3 pieces for Playboy at one point. And then also, I freelance for Pixelkin, which is a website that was geared towards families with kids, and that, you know, how gaming could be applicable to them and what they need to know. I freelance for, anybody heard of Switch Player Magazine? Anybody knows what that is? It's a magazine that's based in the UK and stuff, that's an actual tangible magazine. I actually wrote a couple articles for that I was finally able at some point to publish something in a magazine for myself, like that. Which, growing up with magazines, like, that's like, you hit it, like, you're good. And stuff like that, but like, again, it takes a lot of initiative when pitching out and telling them, hey, I want to write this for you, will you pay me, and stuff. Okay, all right, so we're getting out of time, so I'm going to have a couple more things I'm going to give to everybody here. Come get this for you. This little 2 little things for you. And I have a couple more things if you guys want to come get this stuff, if you guys want to take it and come get my business card. Please, if you can, subscribe to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/GamersWithGains channel, or just search Jake James Lugo on the card on YouTube. Check out my Twitch channel, Gamers with Gains. Yeah, it's a charger, PlayStation 4. Check out, check me out on Twitter. My Twitter's on there, my Instagram, my Facebook. Again, you'll probably see me posting stuff on Facebook throughout the day, a whole bunch of stuff. But again, feel free to check out all my stuff and, you know, say what's really good. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the panel. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.